Hey everyone, it's Casey. So it's been a while, and as you can see from the title of this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Nakeup Face Waterking Cushion foundation, as you can see right here. So if you want to see the review, swatches and demo, you can click right here. But I just wanted to give you a quick update on my upcoming videos. So I think I'm filming today, let's see, 5 different reviews including this one. And so you'll see I'm wearing the same outfit because, as you know, I'm still working as an English teacher, and since summer is coming up, I'm going to be even more busy. So I'm filming everything in one day and just trying to find time to edit and put the videos together. For those of you who have requested a makeup look, I'm still working on that, but it's just I need to make sure I got the coloring and how to adjust my white balance and everything accurately before I film that, and it's another wasted amount of time trying to film it. So please let me know what you think about the white balance and coloring and everything in this video. You can notice I didn't put up my backdrop, I guess. It's really just a bed sheet. And so it takes me a long time to set that up. So please let me know if you're okay with this setup. I know it looks a little messy in the back, but hopefully it's blurred out enough with the lens I'm using right now. And please let me know about the lighting, the audio, things like that. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, so after these 5 reviews, hopefully I will try to film a makeup review, but I have some footage all the way back during Lunar New Year where I went hiking with my friends and things like that. We went on a little adventure throughout Shinju, and I just haven't found time to edit it, and I'm kind of concerned the footage is going to be really shaky. But even though it's shaky, and if you would still like to see it, please let me know what you think. And in terms of other footage I have, one of my best friends came and visited me, my first American friend who visited me while I'm here in Taiwan. She came and we went around to Kaohsiung, Taipei, and she also went around Shinju. I don't think I filmed around Shinju, but it's mostly food kind of videos and things like that in vlogs. So if you would like to see that, please let me know down below as well. And I hope the quality is okay. I filmed it off of my iPhone Plus or iPhone 6. So yeah, please let me know if you'd like to see that kind of footage, and I'll try my best to get to editing it while I'm somehow finding time during my summer classes for the next 3 to 4 months. Ugh, wish me luck. Okay, so with that being said, let's move on to the review of the actual Nakeup Face Waterking Cushion foundation. So initially I didn't plan on making this video because I bought this in South Korea, and as many of you know, I am here in Taiwan, and I believe most of my viewers should have the interest of coming to Taiwan and things like that. So I kind of didn't see the point of making that video, but I do have some other products I bought from South Korea, so if you do want to see that, let me know. But in terms of the reviews for this one, I recently found that a store in Taiwan does stock this cushion foundation. So I thought I would quickly jump on it and give you my personal thoughts while I'm here living in Taiwan and how it holds up while being in Taiwanese weather and conditions. So the good news is in Taiwan, it now retails at 86 Shop. As I have mentioned before, it's an online app, but they also have some brick and mortar stores. And this retails for 699 NT. It was recently listed in their newer product sections. So I believe they just recently stocked this, and they also have this pink cushion from Nakeup Face, and I don't remember why I didn't buy it in Korea, but either way I didn't get that one. But I have heard reviews from Edward Villa about this Waterking cushion. In Korea, if you do go there, they sell it at Watson's, but ironically in Taiwan they don't sell it at Watson's. Only 86 Shop carries it. So what is the Waterking cushion? Waterking cushion is supposed to look very dewy and watery. So to some Western people, they may consider this as overly shiny. And for me, I feel like it's more dewy and glowy. But I do know while I was living in the States for like 24 years, for all 24 years of my the beginning of my life, I guess, is that I've always preferred matte satin finishes. Okay, I've hated shine, but that's slowly changing, I feel, because of Asian cosmetic influences, people are slowly understanding that glow is not a bad thing. Now in the West, typically we, you know, get our glow with highlighters and things like that, which is fine, but there's just something about a very dewy foundation is just so different, and to some people it might be cringeworthy because they think, wow, shiny. But let me explain to you the philosophy I've learned is I've slowly come around to like the sort of very dewy finishes as well, and it could be that it's because I'm influenced by the people in Asia now. But as some of you may know, I'm slowly getting older. I'm 27 now, and I'm no longer a spring chicken. So I'm slowly seeing lines and, you know, things getting more hollow as time goes on. So it's kind of nice to have something that bounces the light away from those hollow areas. When you look at a young person, especially like children or teenagers, that sounds a little strange, but when you look at young people, they don't have lines, they don't have hollow places, they don't have any fine lines, right? And there's nothing wrong with fine lines and things like that, but the beauty of having this sort of dewy look is it looks youthful, it looks very young. And so with my small lines, which you could see in the demo, is they're a little bit more sunken in now as I'm getting older, unfortunately. But with sort of this dewy finish, it kind of brings light into that area and it makes it look a little bit more subtle. Now I still have them, obviously, and I'm not going to get rid of them, but, well, unless I do something about it. But overall, it kind of makes it less obvious, especially on camera and things like that. So I love that about this foundation. And when you see this sort of shiny finish, as I'm moving my forehead, you can see, is that it just looks like your skin is so radiant and healthy and moisturized. As I'm getting older, my skin is getting more and more dry. So there's something to be said. I used to be much more oily and moisturized, but now time is ticking, it's not happening. So anyway, that's the philosophy behind the Waterking cushion, is it promises a lot of moisture, and I always say my face doesn't feel dry. Now another good thing about the Waterking cushion foundation, I have cat hair, about the Waterking cushion foundation is that it doesn't settle into my pores. I didn't use any primer with this cushion. I will use a primer sometimes to add a little bit more longevity, but not for pore filling properties. This on its own actually fills in my pores around my cheeks. I have large pores because ever since I was a teenager and I hit puberty, I've always been acne prone up until this point. And in the demo you could see I still get a lot on my chin and across my cheeks, my nose and things like that. But it fills in the pores and it doesn't sink in to my actual pores. Now here and there when I powder too much, it might emphasize my pores, ironically, but on its own, it doesn't emphasize my pores at all. So you'll see in the demo later on about that. But let's just talk about so I do like the whole concept of kind of pore filling. It doesn't settle into my fine lines at all, except for the very deep ones. So I think I mentioned this in my demo, but you can see right here, I have this fine line under my eyes it's fine, but it's very deep. So what happens is no matter what concealer, foundation, primer I use, things will still settle in that line because it's just so deep and it's just unfortunate. So here and there, I'll just kind of have to wipe my eyes under here to get rid of the foundation like sinking into that line. That's the only thing I've had an issue with this foundation. But another thing, and probably the most important thing people are wondering about, is the longevity. In terms of longevity, it is a cushion, so it's not going to be like your foundation. You just have to realize that cushions, in my whole experience, will not last like any foundation, right? So I have the Bobbi Brown Intensive Skin Serum Foundation, which is kind of what the Nakeup Face reminds me of. This is way more expensive, of course, and you get way more product. You get 1 fluid ounce. I'm not sure how much you get here. If I find it, I'll link it here. Hopefully I find it. But this lasts way longer on me compared to the cushion foundation. And they feel about the same in terms of like in terms of the moisture and things like that. But this, for some reason, just any cushion kind of slips off and transfers much more compared to a regular foundation. So bear that in mind. But this is way more easier to carry and to slap on anywhere you want. Okay, so for me, cushions are like the travel friendly foundation. You don't have to bring a bottle, a brush, or your sponge and things like that. You could just literally carry this with the cushion puff and you're set. So in terms of longevity, I find it's honestly 4 to 6 hours, not powdered, without primer. And this is, you know, contingent on I'm not riding a scooter and I'm not wearing a face mask, which I typically do. So if I wear a face mask, it's gonna, any foundation that I wear will transfer onto the mask because it's right against my face. And with the wind from my scooter, things like that, it's just a mess. But if I'm not riding a scooter and I just wear this out, and for most people I think in the world will just drive a car, I have no problem with that. And I mainly wear this during winter because my skin is so dry, right? So this brings back moisture into my skin, and during winter where it's less humid compared to summer, it lasts pretty much 6 hours, I would say, if I'm not sweating or anything like that. In summer, I don't expect it to last very long because it's so humid, so bear that in mind. And let's talk about the coverage very quickly. Actually, before that, you can powder this as well, but of course you're going to lose some of that dewiness. I find that the shine will come back still with very light powder. So if I do wear a powder, I barely use any powder on my face because, again, if you use too much powder, it will settle into pores. And that's not, for me, not the fault of the foundation. It's more of just overclogging your pores. So use a very light hand with powder if you use this. Use powder with this foundation. In terms of the coverage, I would say it's light to medium coverage, and it's a buildable type of coverage. So I try to use very thin layers and build up as needed. And this is a beautiful foundation because it still shows your skin. Okay, so this is definitely more of those natural, no makeup day kind of foundation. It is not your heavy duty type of foundation. So you still need concealer if you want to cover darker spots and things like that. As you will see in the demo, I have a lot of hyperpigmentation here in my under eyes. I still use concealer. Right now I have concealer on. So it's good for those natural days. If you don't want to wear any makeup except this cushion to even out your skin tone, it's great for that. There's also an SPF of 35 with PA++. So you do get a little sun protection. I would still wear some sunblock underneath. But there's some SPF there, so that's nice to protect your skin. And so because there is an SPF, sometimes it does give a little bit of a white cast. So usually I don't blend foundation down my neck because I don't want to get it on my clothes. But yeah, my face will look a little bit lighter than my neck usually because of that. So keep that in mind. And another thing is, some people will take the cushion foundation out to retouch their face or touch up their face. So personally, I don't do this. If you touch it up, it's fine. I do see people touch up with cushion foundations and it's okay. It doesn't get really cakey because of its nature. If you have a lot of powder on, it will look cakey. But if you don't wear any powder, it's easily buildable. So I personally just don't like to touch up when I'm outside because I feel like on the puff, I'm touching the cushion and then touching my face and going back in. I'm introducing bacteria that's dirtier outside. So I personally don't do that myself. But you can if you're comfortable with that. Another thing with the longevity is if you sweat, this will transfer. So again, it's just not like any foundation. It's no double wear foundation or anything like that. Oh, and let me mention about the shade range, okay? The problem, as with most Asian cosmetics, is there isn't a huge shade range. Especially with this Nakeup Face line, I find that they usually only have 3 foundation shades. So correct me if I'm wrong, but for the Waterking Cushion, there's only 21, which is what I have. On this one website, they called it light, which is true. I do find it's a little lighter than my neck right now, as it's starting to get dark or sunnier. So I have the shade 21 light, and it's too light for me, but okay for me in winter. There's 22, which had a pink undertone, and for me, I don't want to reintroduce pink into my face. I just think it looks even more unnatural and lighter actually than the 21. 21 is a more neutral color, and they have 23 natural, which is what my mom has. So my mom is actually like a medium warm skin tone most of the time, and 23 is a hair light for her, but it's buildable, so she wears it very, very thinly, and it does a good job of kind of evening out her skin tone a little bit, but without making it so obvious that it's a stark difference between her neck and face. So it's so sheer, it's almost like a tinted moisturizer if you use a very, very light hand. So there is that, but even for me, 23 I think wouldn't work so well if I get tan during summer. But if I'm more of my natural spring summer skin tone without really trying to tan, it might work. So even the natural shade is pretty light. So unfortunately, for those of you who are a little bit darker than medium skin tones, it just unfortunately wouldn't work. So please bear that in mind. And yeah, so would I actually recommend this cushion foundation? I would. I think if you want to try a sort of dewy looking skin, sort of like that glass skin look, this is actually a quick and easy way to achieve that. It just looks so natural and pretty. And the biggest thing is it's not too expensive in terms of cushion. Now I have the Hera one, which was like double the price, but it came with the refill, so it actually works out to be close to the same price. But if you only want to try one cushion foundation and don't need the refill, then yeah, I think it's not a bad price in terms of cushions to try something to achieve that sort of glass dewy skin look and see if you like it. So very nice for winter. For summer, I would be a little bit hesitant unless it's very dry there, but if you're sweaty, I wouldn't do it. But winter cushion foundation, this is the one I would always go to. Last thing I want to remind people about a cushion is that unlike a foundation, this could dry up faster because it is a cushion. But I have had this one since October, so it's almost May, so close to half a year to 7 months. It's still going pretty well, although I think you're supposed to toss it in like 6 months to a year. I'm not sure, but who does that? Anyway, so I still have a lot of product left, even though I've used this for close to 7 months now, and I still really enjoy it. The only issue is now that it's summer, I can't really use the shade. So again, let's move on to the swatches and demo. So I'm going to show you the swatch of, again, this is the Cushion Compact. It's very reflective. I hope it doesn't blind you all, but this is the Nakeup Face Cushion, and it's very reflective, lots of fingerprints no matter how much I clean it. This is the shade I have. Okay, so this is the shade I have. It's shade 21. And so now, again, I lost the cushion. When I was in Korea, I threw away a lot of the packaging, and I forgot that I put the cushion inside the box, and I threw away the box. So it does come with a cushion, it's just that I threw it away. So I prefer these silicone ones anyway because I feel like you use a little bit less product when you're picking it up on these sort of silicone cushion sponges. This one's from Eastwire because Eddie of Villa had recommended this one. But now in Taiwan, if you go to 86 Shop or Cosmed or Watson's, they sell a lot of these, and I don't think they could be that different, to be honest. It's silicone. I just like the shape. But I will say when you use these silicone ones, it takes a little bit of the natural shine that you get from using a regular puff. So do keep that in mind, but you actually might use that knowledge to your advantage. If you don't want it that dewy, then maybe you could use one of these to tame the shine. So I'm going to show you the best I can on the back of my hand with this cushion. So my hand is pretty pale. Hopefully you can see that. And so it's a decent match actually on my hand. A hair light, I will say, but you can see right there, very pretty, and it blends out very, very well. And what I like about this cushion, when you see in the demo, is that it fills in my pores really, really well. I have very big pores around my cheeks, and my chin is quite bumpy sometimes, and I have a lot of fine lines. I talked about the fine lines issue before, but I would say in terms of filling my pores, it's pretty good. I don't use a primer usually with this cushion foundation. I would say if you use a cushion or a primer, it might extend the longevity a bit, but it's still a cushion, so for me it still doesn't last that long, so I don't bother. But it does fill in my lines and things like that quite well. So without further ado, let's get into the demo. Alright, so I'm going to apply the Nakeup Face Waterking Cushion. And I actually lost the cushion puff that came in this compact. It has a mirror. I don't want to blind you guys, so sorry if I'm looking over at my monitor to make sure I'm in frame. But yes, I used this one from Esquire, and it's a silicone, like sort of like cushion blusher kind of tool. And I prefer using this because I feel like you use less product when you grab it out of the cushion. And the best thing is I like to use it with a sponge. I'm using the Real Techniques one. It looks kind of wonky. I'm not sure if I actually got a knockoff or something, because I got it off of Amazon, because, you know, I live here in Taiwan, and then I later found out they do sell it in Taiwan. But either way, I got these from Amazon, so I'm not 100% sure if they're legit or not, but they work perfectly fine. So I'm going to apply it right now. You could see it's right here. And I'll show you swatches later, things like that, or at the beginning of the video, I suppose. So I'm just taking about this much, as you can see here. Oh, let me try to. So I'm taking about this much, and this shade I believe is a hair light for me, but let's see how that goes. So just grab my mirror real quick right here, and I'm gonna swipe it on my face. And you can kind of see it's a little bit light for me. Again, I have shade 21, which is the lightest shade. I was in Korea when I got this, so it was the right shade at the time. But once I blend it out, it still decently works. And it's such a sheer coverage that it's not a huge deal. Well, not sheer. I shouldn't use the word sheer. Wow, I can't talk today. I shouldn't use the word sheer, but it is sort of light to medium coverage, as you will see. So I kind of spread it on with this silicone cushion first, like so. And I'll put it down the center, all over. You could apply it however you want. But it's gonna look a little bit gross. I did prime my face with moisturizer. I didn't use a makeup primer. But I'll kind of get in a little bit closer so hopefully you can see. I'm not sure how well the camera will pick up on this, but it does kind of look crazy on my pores right now, but you'll see in a second once I start blending with the sponge. Now, if you have the cushion sponge, it works equally fine. I just feel like it wastes a lot of product. So I kind of prefer using the silicone cushion first. I'm not wasting too much product. And so I kind of just, you know, gently pat around. My sponge is wet, it's not dry, and so I could just kind of pat it around like this all around. And that was a very light layer. I always feel like you should work in small layers instead, just so you don't get that overly crazy look. It just looks far more natural this way. But I have a lot of redness in my skin. I have very severe allergies, and my skin's pretty much typically always red, and I have acne, as you can see right here. So in a way that I have bad acne at this moment, it's sort of demonstrating how well the coverage is. I have some hyperpigmentation from some recent acne I had, and you could kind of see it's not really covering it extremely well. So keep that in mind. I would still use a concealer. Pretty much a lot of concealers don't cover my chin very well because it's sort of dry texture. So typically I will use the Clio Kill Cover Pro Artist Liquid Concealer right here on my chin, which maybe I'll do a review for, but I've seen quite a few reviews about this. But if you guys want a review, I'll review this one. I have it in shade 3 BY, which is a little bit dark, but it's okay. I don't mind blending it out and things like that. So that's just one layer, and you can still see on my cheeks here, it's still a little bit red and things like that. And you can still see my under eyes are still a little bit purple from my allergies, and of course my hyperpigmentation from my chin. So that's just one quick layer. Typically I won't dip my wet sponge into the cushion compact. I'll still take the silicone one, which is really nice. It's much easier to wash. It doesn't pick up a lot of bacteria. You could just wash it off with water. So that's what I like about using the silicone one. I don't like it to apply so much. I feel like it takes away from the texture of this Waterking cushion, which is supposed to make your skin look a lot more dewy. And you know, in the past I used to think that matte skin was more pretty, things like that, you know, because usually in the West we think matte skin, I at least from what I understand, is matte skin is sort of the look more often, but slowly it's creeping up towards the West that wet or glass looking skin looks more young. And I tend to agree now that I live here. It just looks like your skin looks so healthy. So I'm going to do this. I will say when you use the silicone cushion sponge, it does kind of take away a little bit of the shine that comes from the Nakeup Waterking cushion. So for this demonstration, I'm going to apply it from the sponge directly with this sort of more second layer. So kind of dipping in, and you can see it picks up a lot more product this time. And I'm gonna go again and try to layer this up. And now I could kind of see the shade is a little bit too light for me. Again, this is an old one, but now that it's in Taiwan, I probably would pick up the third shade. However, in summer I wouldn't necessarily use this shade, to be honest, but it looks kind of crazy because my eyelids are much darker because of my allergies. But I'm gonna kind of go over a little bit. And so why don't you blend this all out? It looks like so. Now again, the idea is to sort of have that wet, dewy looking skin. I would love to wear this out by itself. I think the sort of glow you get is very beautiful. And keep in mind, right now I have direct sunlight and a little bit of my ring light on my skin. So it actually makes it look a lot more pale because this does have an SPF. It has an SPF of 35, and whenever you have SPF, it can bounce off light on camera to make it look a little bit more white. So do keep that in mind. It does have a bit of a white cast, I feel, on camera, but in person, actually no, it is a little bit lighter than my neck right now, so I would blend it down my neck a little bit, but I'm going to be washing this off later, so I'm not going to worry about that. But it is a little bit too dark, so typically I will take either my sort of loose powder. I use all kinds of powders. I find that they all really don't matter too much. The one most frequently I use is the Etude House Fix and Fix powder. It's okay. It's not my favorite one. Still, I would say if I had to choose one, my favorite would be the Innisfree No Sebum Moisture Powder, which is this one. This is my favorite. But there's so little product compared to Etude House one. So there's that. But either way, let's just focus on this Nakeup cushion. This is what it looks like. So you can kind of see up close. Let me turn down my ring light. You can kind of see up close that it fills in my pores decently well, and it doesn't kind of cover redness too well. It did a decent job on my chin, and it did manage to cover up most of my redness, but not too much here. And my dark circles are still a little bit apparent, but that's just always a problem I've had. Alright, so that concludes my quick review of and demo of the Nakeup Face Waterking Cushion. If you have any further questions, feel free to leave them down below and I'll try my best to answer them. And I'll see you all later. Bye! Hey everyone, it's Casey. What? Sometimes sometimes this little girl will just look at me, meow, and say, open the door. So if you hear any jingling, that's